Hello. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello. I know it's evening in Uganda right now, so I hope I caught everyone at a better time than I usually do. Hello. Welcome. My name is Lady Winnie Allison. I am coming to you from the US. After I won't be on. I'm all one ducho. Anya Lady Winnie Amo. Take a piano bot who ki low magloni America, near USA. Koberi chawa ni odiko bot wakan. Tung California kan beru diko. Yeah. You're welcome. It's morning here for us. So I know it's afternoon somewhere, it's evening somewhere. For sure it's evening in Uganda, right? Welcome. Welcome to our session today. I'd like to highlight a few more items. And also I'd like to bring to you some security alerts, certain things that we need to stay alert, stay informed, and for those who are concerned to take cover. Okay? Museveni and Muhozi or whatever have come. All right? So, starting off, I'd like to start with some sort of explanation or understanding of what is going on in Uganda. One thing I would like for us to understand is that we have almost defeated Museveni. Because the fact that Muhozi, who wants something but cannot do it on his own or cannot achieve it on his own, is a powerful thing, okay? Atika wachi, kamadong Museveni oyene, doada Uganda tika lake, aloha tika nendok tika bieno. Inka nen ni jale woda Museveni, peramu kwanyu gina eni miro, nyo peramu wachi ana miro gimonene, wakachera chiti pira waka nong. Okay? Babane, ena kiloni makayange, baba pa Muhozi, ayechero, chung election, pira kene, chung pi wode, pian wode ni uberu nuchu dano. Kuberi chani kani yada, Muhozi kaneni Muhozi meru gini enini. Muhozi no meru bin pira kene, kun kapti machalo en latin na chonyo, en la cho moni, en dong, gini enini enitwero, dori mero, dori bi donyi, dori bi no bene, nano. So I'm describing the fact that we have gotten Museveni to a place where he has never been before. The fact that Muhozi, the son of this man, is now coming out to act as the owner of this thing, and yet he could not run on his own, he could not say what he wants. In Acholi, there's something called Mariang, where a son, an older son, cannot go and talk to a woman to convince her to be with him. He has no nerves. He's unable to. They call them Mariang, okay? This is the same thing that we're seeing now in Museveni's so-called transition. Muhozi wants the wife, but Muhozi does not have the balls to go and get that woman. So his father must come and do this. But how much time does Museveni have to continue doing what he's doing? Now, after the father has gotten what he has gotten illegally, stolen an election, rigged an election, went and swore himself in without DR forms, without any validation to show, just a cantankerous way of doing things, all of a sudden, the son is now showing up and acting as if he's the big deal, okay? And Museveni, age, nature, all of that is against him. That should be empowering for us Ugandans to see that we are in a transition and we are in the right place and we are achieving great milestones. in trueness, if Museveni and Muhoozi transition was supposed to be, by now it would have been the young man trying to get this on his own. He would have been the one going through the elections, through his Pilau party or whatever. But he does not have the balls to do it. That means he has set the pace. That will never come out of our mind of us Ugandans. That this guy cannot achieve that. He thinks he can bulldoze his way around and achieve, terrorism, achieve through terrorizing Ugandans. That is why the Anita Among and all these things are going on. All of a sudden he feels powerful, but powerful from the sidelines. He's not the main man. He's worthless. Okay? We have Museveni where we want him to be, and they are back to the drawing board. Atika wachi, Mariange ni kwane no dana da, kono ana yo katu wachi, ana la cho, ana tuancho, ana miru gineni, ana bino gineni. Ento, petuero. Inano, eno we akuperichani tamani miere to dan li bua were nyut ni anitek. Ento, man ni Uganda tika loke. Karini ngo, Uganda ti ikarme a loga. Karini ngo. Kari kiti meni gobe wona neta nyo gobe ti meni ning. Uganda tie kama miere berie, Uganda tie gen makiloni transition. A loga ping. Inano. Jami weng ma Museveni gitika temune pe gitika temune pian gimiero. Gitika temune pian kwadong tika dino kioko. Plan mayang Museveni tie kere ni NB ber la tela mwaka piara beach. Wode mukana mwaka piara beach. La tien likwa ene bena mwaka piara beach. Pedong tie dongu dore drawing board. Eno were neno kuberi chawa ni Museveni dore kori tij mayang kita en yaw te mekere ki neko dano ki mako dano ki tor dano ki tongo dano ne. Kuberi chawa ni Museveni romu neko wate were neni eni chung wode beno be chung. Inano. So I'm saying that in all of this that they're doing right now, we are in the right place where we need to be at this time, and thankfully, our president, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, has led us here. We're in the right place. Uganda is in a revolution. The fact that Museveni must stay alive for his son to do this, and yet nature is pushing and pulling. There is no way that they, as a duo, can do this, because the son has no balls and the father has little to no life or years left. The guy looks frail. The guy looks tired. But more so, the things that they're doing now are not because they want to. There is pressure from all over the world. Museveni has to answer to so many questions. He can only justify his existence by doing certain things, and he's breaking more laws and breaking them further. So have faith, stay strong, do what you're doing, because it is time. There's nothing that's achieved that is of this nature, this big, that has the least effort availed to get it to where it needs to be. We must continue with what we are doing, exposing them. I have a list of corruption activities. I have a list of privatized entities that eventually became theirs. I have a list of events that will show you, and obviously this is going viral. Everything we're doing here goes viral. It goes where it needs to be. It goes to the funders of the Musevenis. It breaks where it should be. You know, when he ruled Uganda before, while we didn't know what was going on, he did it right under our nose, and we didn't know what was happening. But now that we do, we must fight. We must stay on course and make sure these guys go and leave our country alone. Atika wachi, ena dongu o ikare enini ma jamine dong gimoy kana giti temne pe dong pimir giba gitika temu jami pian pressure tie ma dira dada ma ake wako jo ma wako tika peni down to Uganda ni ning jo ma ti buchi uma ko gipingo pingo tika timatata pingo kwodo karogo kwopa ni tegia nga gini pingo kwodo dira dada ngoma wunu tika temune ini la dedlo bo mwaka piera ngwen mandare med mwaka mukane ngo ko mini wa accountability kong chene ma wa chwele wuni otimu ki ngo abi titu kama chene eno ni chere ye en put ki temene ki maka nitane Chen and Johnny Tiekere, Piggy can give family, will be water. So Uganda Tie Kama Loga Mirberia, Doc down your beta yari, down your yele me med to transition ki revolution in Yanim. Pianka wachi ki beto, Jomo Kana Buyele, Loga Boberu Kamokana, Loga Pobi O Kamokana. So I watch it Ubet Kingo, Kigan Nikama Gemini do, oh yeah. At that time, any Museveni doc or come a young and a child can get one or down ki neck or down ki temongoni. Manu tea, tika win you ne. Kuberichani ki tika penyo down, ki tika penyo any, meaning accountability down more toy car me yar queenie. Dana di, giti quene, ki yogi quene, ki temo getting utemonga, Joe mutemo bale and giti quene, umarogi, utweogi, utemonga. Pian lobo, check lobo. Maquaro down or wing, tie, kilwoni gene, international law. Ma tie jami mo ma mier poti mi kom down pian down weng check in the kwaoge inano chi Johnny ane be jo ma mini Museveni ki chente man gi wai ma pia wa mini u chente ko tete wa ngo mo te men ndo para bit me do ma chel me mo aga ali bario ki per bichel. So there's a lot of accountability questions before Museveni that he can hardly answer. That is why now he's scrambling to try to look legitimate, to try to clean up on the things that have gone so wrong, such as corruption, such as political prisoners, such as how he treats the opposition. All of these things he must answer, and therefore he has gone back to the drawing board. I'm assuring you that Museveni and family are back to square one. Back to square one with us completely awake. We are ready. We are hungry. We want change. We are ready for this. We want this to happen. Okay? So have faith. I'm going to read to you the list of certain things that are, maybe I should go through the security alerts first. And then we'll go on to the, oh, maybe I can appetize with this. Let me start with the list of items or things that gave birth to corruption in Uganda. A little bit of history. Uganda used to have a lot of its entities owned by the government. Federal, okay? You know how, for example, for people who live abroad, there are certain departments in a country or certain arms of government in the country that are run by the government only because they must secure the fact that these services and whatever funds or whatever the case might be are reaching the people. But when Museveni came to power and found those things set in place, he decided to privatize them. Privatization means taking them from government's hands, handing them to other people. And he did hand them to other people for almost 0 shillings. The reason why he has to put a shilling amount is because it seems like a transaction. Otherwise, he could have said, my daughter, you take the bank, my son, you take this and take that and the other. But privatization, which Museveni started with, was for them, the Nyarwanda, who came into Uganda to enrich themselves, for each one of them to own a piece of Uganda. A piece of Uganda. You'll be amazed by what I'm going to tell you. Atika wachi, ikarema gene, abikelu gen manyuru, kita Uganda jono poro kere kingi. Ingeni Uganda jono poro kere kingi, macharo joma ke Rwanda niwe. Joma Museveni ubinu kwet gini, sam kutesa nga gini. Joane gu wachi, Uganda pian karma yang chono jemi machi magamente ya yetimu pidano no duande da. Pian chali lo mawako kan tie offices mogo tie gene karaketi chalo gene department mogo unyo office mogo madano ma tijgi uberu tij ma gamente ya yekeruni jami unyo service u obo dano ineno gigeru kun gigeru wala wang dano la wangamente ma obo ni jami ene tika obo dano da ento Museveni karman bino no boregi amin gigu keru luak jami ma teaching gamente mano gamente ene ni teaching utine dok jami no o ching down ineno te Museveni gi ogi wai a ini pebe pian one po bi no lonyo ma mier wanongi jami ni ka wai wot ki jara konni waponi nga wane gini bena watika nongo manona kun wano wabino ikuo wano wabino kacham ineno. So Museveni guti mugena kiloni privatization terani ikwanyu gin mati chinga mente ho imi chinga rachele chele wachi In dong ineni tichi enini ini maro in pir keni. Imari kunene jamine tiche o ching down. In water ini mak teach my office enini. Or in yara ini mak teach my office enini. Where no ngat wundong kado mako kumeno unem dong ningo. Jami ma wunu maka chinguni ulon dong kere pian gu poko kun gi poko ni gi poko lonye kingi. Awati ni jami cha upoke wa ching down. So I'm going to go through the list of everything that was divided or everything that they established personally as a family. That's why they call this term protecting the gains, because there's a lot of fear and worry and concern that all of these items could get lost. With the coming of His Excellency Chagulani Sentamu, he has shaken this government to the core. Okay, so meanwhile they're trying to catch Anita Among and this that. Anita Among is hard to defend. Anita Among is Ugandan, but Anita Among went overboard. I remember Honorable Kadaga, being whoever she was, she had room for understanding. Some sort of the opposition could have a word with her. Anita Among thought she was exceptional. She thought she was a Mnyarwanda. Anita Among started walking with a stick like a cattle rustler. You know, she started to feel like one of them. And when they felt threatened by Anita Among because of the shakeup right now, they have now started to come in and try to reduce her powers, reduce her influence, reduce her energy. But it is not in good faith for Ugandans, because what they're trying to do is to get Ugandans to celebrate something, because all we have cared about is how much these people have made us cry or punished us. But speaking of that, why, even if they meant well with this corruption thing, okay, let's say it is the right thing to do. Fighting corruption is not Muhoozi's duty. Okay, granted, he's half a human being. Half, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have certain parts. Muhoozi has all his parts. But he's a glass half full, okay? He's an underachiever. Muhoozi is not poised, is not the judicial system. Muhoozi is not the AIG. Muhoozi is not the police. Muhoozi is not, it is not Muhoozi's place. In fact, Muhoozi needs to also be probed for corruption. Atika wachi, gian mado Muhoozi udonye don ki don wang enini. Udonye machala nga. Pien, gineni kaya ni ada, police ay mera no chero chigere, uchi makgang anita. AIG, Attorney General, umiera no engo, en la dit chik me Uganda. Attorney General. Office ma kwano gena lonyo pa dano ni. Eno mero donyi loke enini. Penny, dano matie Chief of Defense Forces. Ena yeda ko bochero katimungo. Kagweno atanita. Meneno ni anita tiki ngo. Or dani guchet guwachi, guchet guyengang anita. Kape, gena, kwanyo anita ko kiberu speaker. En kwanyo machala nga. Ineno. Eno beru la mon, pingo doni loka police, pingo Muhoozi doni loka AIG, pingo Muhoozi doni kagwano loka enini. Kani yada Muhoozi keken udoi corruption. Muhoozi mana yang pia otemo kibon keken bone miu certificate amia. Muhoozi kadana Muhoozi wone obinu la wo maja ka swearing in wala boy chaden. I'm saying that if indeed we were investigating corruption, it is not PLU or Muhoozi's place. Who is he? Who is he to pick the speaker? Speaking of the speaker, he's another thief too. Who is he to demote or hire or fire? Who is Muhoozi? The CDF is not supposed to be involved in personal issue. It is not a military issue. This is a matter of governance in Uganda, and our Anita Among is third in place in a hierarchy in Uganda. She is above Muhoozi. How come the AIG doesn't do this job by themselves? Why isn't the police called on their own? Why must it be Muhoozi? If indeed this meant well, Muhoozi is a product of corruption. Muhoozi's existence is corruption. Muhoozi taking his father to swear in at Kololo without DR forms is corruption in itself. Muhoozi's whole family existence is based on corruption. So why does he think he has the power to do certain things like these? You know, that is why I'm saying that what they're doing now, Museveni can easily get rid of his own family member just to try to stay alive, just to exist. Because they know that as soon as they're done with this government, it is over for all of them and everything of theirs. So I'm going to read to you the list of property that is either privatized or they earned afterwards. And it's all under severe corruption. They've used government or Ugandans' fund, taxpayers' money to amass for their personal interest. People like Sam Kutesa. Sam Kutesa has been in so many corruption scandals, but has never been questioned. If anything, this Muhoozi man who is trying to seem busy, it is time for him to probe those people. Muhoozi should put his father in jail so that we know that he means business. Until then, hitting Amongi and all these things does not make him a savior or messiah like he believes, because he is on his father's script. You know? Muhoozi kanene ne adani tika riemo gena ko Uganda. Wonne to la ko. Wonne o chero chi swearing in wala bon record manurni ene karkui. Wonne mier beri buch. Won Muhoozi ke ken ko ma kwalo duonta. Chwa won dago pa Muhoozi Sam Kutesa. Oberi story me ko ma duon ta Uganda. Jami majoni tie kere magiloni megi ka winyu ki iru wora. En neno dan mo kene premier loka premier winyu loka change don piera tek loyo kompedi chawani pien joni gina gimir ena kanene tuere no dano makiloni dan manywele me Uganda mier kono bepe dok bena obedpe Uganda. Neno. That is why it is dire that we must do everything possible to get over this hump. We're almost there. We are almost there, and we must do whatever it takes. Because these people are at the point where they will eat each other just to stay a step ahead. Museveni doesn't know what the next hour brings. He doesn't know what the next day brings. He doesn't know what the next week brings. He doesn't know what the next month or year will bring for him and his government. There is an advantage that we have. We are young. We are ready. We are informed. We want this. And we have time to get this. We have time. So I'm going to read to you the assets that they have, personal assets. When they said protecting the gains, they meant it for their gains, not Ugandans' gains. Gien mago piano kere kui eni magewai protecting the gains ni. Po beru gains wuba, pian wun gimo upe. Kari gimo tie. Jami majoni tie kere kayeni winyu e wora. Tuan le wich ma wan wa beru ma wa neno wa beru ma pe wa paro, wa beru ma pe wa tamo. Ento Johnny pe parwa. Go bino ka kwa lo iyomo ke ken matware. Waka kwa ne wujame magiti kere. Magitie kere magucho yenyingi pien. Ikaro privatization time. Privatization ana wachi wuni kwa nyuje me okoki chingamente. Miyone okoki chingdano. Ento gen gupo okoki kingi. Beri wa ika wati kachami wimecha. Utiano nyo imukeka. Neno. Waberi wan wati kachami. Megodong ngo. Kwanyu ngad man ke chuan ko chuan neko. Poko ko. Kita John poko kere Uganda enu. Koko win. So I'm going to go item by item. Abi kwano kile mono kadaka kwano dojo kileba choli. So I'll read it in English first, and then I'll read it later in a choli. It'll be the same, but I'll just have to explain a little bit here and there. You people know what's called the Akamwesi. Akamwesi is owned by Salim Saleh and Hope Mwesige. Now, I couldn't tell you when Akamwesi was built, whether it was privatized or not, but at least you will know that those items belong to those people. Aya Hotel is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. JM Hotel is owned by Janet Museveni. JM is Janet Museveni Hotel. You've heard of JM Hotel? Janet Museveni Hotel. Greenland Towers is owned by Janet Museveni. Uganda Roofings is owned by Janet Museveni. Samia Diaries. Now you know the story behind cattle is that they stole Uganda people's cattle and took it to them and shared it amongst themselves. Charlie Gonza stole most of the cattle from eastern part of Uganda. Teso, he was part of the people who burned down Teso people in trains, in train cabins, you know, gassed them out and all of that, all because he wanted to take their cattle. Charlie Gonza, I think, recently lost their son, you know. Naomi, thank you. Naomi says that Akamwesi is around Chevando. Some of these places I don't know for a fact, okay, because I left Uganda close to 15 years ago. Okay, so I spoke about Samia Diary. That one is owned by Museveni, Yoweri Museveni. Malaysian Furniture, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Nakumat Complex, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Cham Towers, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Crested Towers, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Imperial Royal Hotel is owned by Yoweri Museveni. Imperial Resort Beach is owned by Yoweri Museveni. Bidco Factory is owned by Yoweri Museveni. Umeme, the headache of Uganda. Umeme is the most highly taxed commodity in Uganda. Electricity, which we make at Jinja, at the Owen Falls Dam, is supplied to Rwanda first. Rwanda has the least load shedding compared to Uganda. I mean, in Uganda, you cannot plan to buy food and freeze it for, let's say, 3 days. If you must buy, or you have a cattle or a goat that you slaughtered and you need to save it in the freezer so that you can eat it for a few days or save it for some people, it is impossible to make sure that it will live or be okay in the fridge, because you have power for maybe 2 hours a day, some days a week without power, some days in the middle of something power is. Obviously, the load shedding happens sometimes because they're doing some illegal activity. If they're moving certain things, if they're going to cause harm to somebody, if they're going to steal an election, you know, if they're going to do something that serves them, power will go. They have the switch, probably in their living room. And the owner of Umeme is Muhoozi, the son of Museveni. Do you see how this is still on one dining table? One family owns the biggest assets or income generating assets in Uganda. And I'm not done yet. Uganda Telecom is owned by Muhoozi and Janet. Entebbe Airport, the whole international airport, a Ugandan airport, international airport, is personally owned by this family. The International Airport of Uganda is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and Sam Kutesa, who doubles as the father-in-law of Muhoozi. This one may have been signed at the Kuhinjira when the wife was introducing Muhoozi. It is possible. I mean, just what I've mentioned is one unit of, I'm talking nuclear family. I'm not saying their grandparents is involved. No. This is father, son, daughter, father, son, wife, owning this much already. And then it comes in the brother, Salim Saleh and Hope Mwesije, owning Akamwesi on their own. Okay? The other one is Orient Bank. The reason why Uganda only owns, as a country, there's only 2 banks that are Ugandan banks. Did you know that? Only 2 banks are actually Ugandan owned. In many countries of the world, they have at least a central bank that is and serves the people. They have at least several bankings, like in the US, there's different banks that are just to make sure that people are not overdoing things in the banking system that may make nationals suffer, high fees or whatever the case may be. The central bank sets the pace for all of them, for all of the other banks to operate. In Uganda, it is the banks of these people that set the pace for how the rest of the other, especially Ugandan banks, are run. In fact, they have no care in the world if interest rates are at about 30% in a bank that serves the people. 30%. Easy in Uganda, because the goal is to protect their gains, not to protect Ugandans. Garden City is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, all these assets, they have proxies who may be listed as the owners. You're going to be surprised about one of them, which I wasn't shocked about, but there's a surprise to it. So, Garden City is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Zain, you've heard of Zain? Zain is owned by Salim Saleh, the brother of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Warid Telecom is owned by Amelia Chambade. Now, you know about Amelia Chambade. The reason why she's in this circle is because Amelia Chambade has a daughter with Museveni. Do you see how this is all friends and family? It's nothing about a regular Ugandan who is a hardworking human being just trying to live and raise a family. It has nothing to do with that. This is all about themselves. When you get involved with them, they cut you a small piece. The reason why Anita Among is under the limelight today is because Anita took a chunk. She took a chunk, she learned from their script and went overboard and became a threat to their center. Anita became a threat to this. The only reason why Anita is now in the limelight is because of that. MTN Uganda is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The ARV drug factory. What is the irony? It's like saying the funeral services owner also owns the hospital. If the funeral services business is failing or is losing income, guess what the hospital owner does? The same person. They try to kill more people so that this business can stand. That is what Museveni has done. Museveni is the one who has brought HIV and the spread into Uganda by, 350%. This is the guy who injects people with HIV. People who have been abducted, taken away, several NUP members will tell you that they were injected with HIV. Soldiers, my father was in Museveni's army coming into power. Several people of that group, my father died at 36 years old. Several of that group, there's a documentary that I've shown or listed. Several of them were injected with HIV knowingly by Museveni to tame them, to kill them, to reduce the risk of them regrouping and taking down his government. Because as you know, Museveni came to power through Obote's government and he served in the military. So he knew all of the strengths and weaknesses of Obote to be able to come and topple, or Tito, to come and topple and take over. He knew exactly the script of Obote. So he came in and did this. It was easy peasy for him because he was well poised. Okay? So Museveni owns the ARV drug factory. That means if there's a time that Museveni wants to reduce the population, all he has to do is reduce the supply of ARVs produced in Uganda. Is it difficult? No. Why does an HIV rank the same as in Rwanda? Why does Rwanda have a single-digit number of HIV existence in a country where they come from? Why is it that Uganda is almost as high as South Africa when it comes to the numbers of HIV percentages in a country? Because in Uganda, Museveni has the dial. He can dial it up or dial it down, however he feels, however he wants. That means the supply of ARVs goes to as he directs. If he says, you know, my people need ARVs or whatever, he's going to dial it up and distribute there. Let's say there's a shortage of ARVs in Lacho Hospital in Gulu, okay? And there's a shortage or medication is running out in, you know, let's say in the military amongst his group, because I'm sure most of them have HIV anyway. Who do you think is a priority? Obviously, not Lacho. Museveni will dial that up and have it go to where his heart is, or where he feels that they should get this quickly. So in so many ways, this is very, very wrong that Museveni owns and is in control of the ARV drug factory. ARV drug factory. That is insane. And why do we have high numbers of HIV? Because of his influence and how he manages this. Like I said, owning the ARV drug factory, being the president of Uganda, is like owning a funeral home and a hospital, because you don't like these people. So if they go to the hospital, let's say the funeral home is not performing well, meaning there's not many people dying enough to keep the business going. What does Museveni do, which he loves to do? Museveni just, you know, fails on giving medications. All he has to do is not produce ARV drugs, or not supply them, or send them somewhere else where he can make money. Why does he have to give Ugandans medicine? He doesn't have to. He doesn't care anyway about Ugandans. So it is very and extremely wrong for a person who has injected Ugandans with the virus, that he controls the medication that they must take to control the spread, or to control the extent that the disease affects a person. Most HIV people die of symptoms, because when they take the drug, it reduces their immune system severely, because the disease itself does that. Okay? So, next thing, Museveni owns Speak Resort Munyonyo. I know we say Sudir. No. The owner of Speak Resort Munyonyo is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, not Sudir. The reason why Sudir, there's a mystery about Sudir's son and dying and so on and so forth. But Sudir was in some way stepped on the wrong toes at some point. And around that time was the time that his son was hit or died in a car accident. That was all planned. They needed to bring him to his knees so that he can know who is boss. Like they're doing now with Anita Among. They're bringing her to her knees so she knows who is boss. Okay? And that she's not the one. WBS. WBS is owned by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. It is no wonder the rubbish that is spewed through these networks are unbelievable, because they only have the script from this family. What Museveni tells them to pass or talk about in the media is all they will do, okay? So I'm going to go through this in a choli briefly, so that we all get what we're talking about here. I think I be kwani uja mi ma Museveni gi geni warine geni kilorem tie kere Uganda. Awachi wu nyo atiti wu ni ikare ma Museveni gi donyu jami weng no teaching gamente. Paul jami no teaching gamente. Jami makelu don lobo. Nyo service makonyo down no teaching gamente. Eno ku karma gen bieno gunoni mierge pok jami ni yoy kingi web geni lon yoy kingi. Bienu chana deda ana wachi wu jono bienu refugee wala bola teba. Dongu bienu wangu mora go Uganda pian jami mati Uganda duata ngome Uganda be deda. pi ma Uganda ina Rwanda kacha wa gena ina wa babun mati ka Roma ni we ke chok te Rwanda we no we Rwanda be no bet ki gena me tourism Uganda no tiki jame weng chi wangu more ko kutam ni man what te meni ning men no jame gini weng okay Biama kama thank you for coming Paul welcome Kevin you're welcome Dante you're welcome so abi kwani wujami majoni gupo ko ikingi unyo jami magu yubodon pigi kengi ma wan kira mo kana waro mata ni mo jami pagamente unyo jami padana mati Uganda en no jami pa jo Uganda ku pien jami no giro mo chono ni dana manye okelo ena yo buberu macharo la wang jami enini ento rejemi mano okelo berengeyo ena yo beru family jo pa Museveni gi so abi kwani wo kachela chele tie on makiluoni akamwesi Ruedo beru Salim Saleh gene hope mwesije hotel makiluoni aya hotel i Kampala kacha ubero hotel pa Yoweri Kagota Museveni hotel mukana kiluoni JM Manyuti Janet Museveni hotel ubero hotel pa nga Janet Museveni Odmoma dir makiluoni Greenland Towers ko chero Kampala neno Ot enune ubero otpa Janet Museveni. Uneno kama kibwili ye jemi meka tu barking ongo kiluoni roofings. Roofings ubero ot gene business pa Janet Museveni. Kira mukena ka ochero bu nojo mukena mati chatu will king ongo. Kira mukena meki bwechi uni John aye red business eni ento ko adama won jemi egini. Pian genong luo meka na nyingi ba pian nyingi do beri ka wendo bo beru kinyingi gunoni eni pepe koni Ugandans chuo ka ngeni wati akwaloge so gi kwanyu dano chalu dano ma gine lakin gang mere dano no wange bana jomo kan no grongiti business jomo kan no furi gen kwanyu joni ene gi keru gi chibu gi jalu lo wang business no piano kan no wan no bieno ka de pe ni business pa ngaki wai ni business pokelo ento okelo no choyo agreement ne o IOU ne gene red gini chale Museveni nyo Janet baby no ngoni mu Janet oberi roofings kacha atia chatu jemi ento jami chat will weng make char kunu wa bchor weng make onyo char bod nga rede ki kome mano beru Janet list enini red jami ni weng beru Janet Museveni umien Salim Saleh Muhozi kidong jalma keloni Sam Kutesa piano beru chwa dako pa Muhozi nye Sam Kutesa tuan la kuo makonye pe makwalo chiana makichwalo world food chiana ma duan ta makichwalo Uganda no ku kwalo kucha mgupo kwa kenge so ubi nano ni jami geni ko weng ti kin dano ma kako beru ko dog mecha chel ka cham dek me otiano no ku ram jami me Uganda ko weng ti wigi Gian ken no roofings ati wachi pa Janet Museveni Samia diary uberu diary magena jo macharu chak kingongo gi product ma aki kom chak nyu kom diang meno pa Yoweri Museveni Malaysian furniture uberu kama ki chari yegene komgi mecha gi kitana gi Malaysian furniture jo mo ko manoro mo wilu je me ni wholesale ka biom char manaka nak tungang kunune no getika ketuchene ijeba pa Museveni Malaysian furniture uberu pa Yoweri Museveni Nakumat complex wununge supermarket makelwoni Nakumat ene kai cher ka weli ye no itia ketuchene ijeba pa Yoweri Kagota Museveni kama kelwoni Cham Towers uberu hotel wunun uberu gena uberu tower uberu arma dir ma bo ma cher mala dida wun ko goba Uno ne ori egi makiluoni ko towers ko gena ni we complex ni. Kiana mu kenne no ke keti ministry mo chalu gender ko ministry mo akibot gamente ko. Mono no jomati kom loka kwa jomati gamente mati jemi makwa ko danko. Ke go ni Johnny anu ni kar mu kenne mier go chet good chul rent bot Museveni I Cham Towers I kaka weko origi ni beru pagamente ko go weko origi ni uberu megi manyuti wanu wachulu chene mchoro wachero kachulu rent bod Museveni donye jema pa Museveni Pechero kamuke ane madoke kilo kore kidugni ki guri ki ngongo gini. I'm trying, this part I must explain in English. I'm saying that some of these towers, Cham Towers and all these places, is where government agencies have to pay rent to exist, to do their duties and government services. However, they are putting the cash in Museveni's pockets. Had we had a good working government, these buildings would have been government-owned buildings whereby the government doesn't have to double down and pay rents as well to the same family. Do you see the double standard? One keep get educated away. One wachero keketi chair kanano down my Ministry of Gender. Miere chair in Donny office eniko office in Rombe Cham Towers keketi Cham Towers. Jomati office me gender. Budget gitie makingolo ki ni make kwano budget. Budget gino kingolo ni rent chene me chulo ot me office ma jone ti ye umiere ke kepat. Chene enu ni donya ijeba pa Museveni. Private ijeba pa Museveni. Kano kamuke ene chene ni no miere do don kwene I pool muke ene weke nene ot ya no jati ye cham gene gurino ke yubo kingongo gini. Man pe Jammy went Cherubot Johnny ya. Jammy went Uganda Cherubot Johnny. Nakumat Complex, Cham Towers are what you need pa Museveni. Crested Towers pa Museveni. Imperial Royal Hotel. Imperial Royal Hotel enini Museveni ubine ruore mauluri acid. Do you guys know the story of Imperial Hotel? It was owned by I don't have his name right here. A gentleman, a Muganda man owned this a plot of land in the area where Imperial Hotel was located. You know what? When Museveni came into power, he made sure that he killed the gentleman. I believe he was leached in acid because till today, they don't have a grave for this man. He's a Muganda man. I spoke about him before, but I don't have his name right now. Johnny go kwanyo karma Museveni gidonyo red hotel eni no beru dano mala logama Muganda mati Buganda. Museveni uyenyu yo weng menano ni nerola choni. Watin wadire peki tieki liel pala choni Uganda Kenya. Original red Imperial Royal Hotel. So I'm just saying with desperation when they came, they wanted to take over everything. Imperial Hotel was already there. They killed the owner, somebody from Buganda, and Museveni took it over outright. The land and everything, he just took it up. Imperial Resort Beach. Enini benepa yoweri kagota Museveni. Company makiluoni Bidco. Bidco berupa Muhozi. Sorry. Bidco berupa yoweri kagota Museveni. Munu ne anokira John lukuo kerewe. Umeme. And mama tilwenjui Uganda ne. Iwurungeni umeme ye choko muchoro dong loy Uganda. There is no other most highly taxed entity than Umeme. Ugandans paid the most taxes on Umeme, which is non-existent almost as a service to Ugandans. Muchoro maunu onye Umeme. Dit mapepore ki muchoro mo ke ken madanmi Uganda onyo. Koma mache berpeni. Wunke go one wa yubo mat ijinja dam kacha. Dam me Uganda yubo mat ijinja kacha. Mano mier mat poto Uganda. Enta boke woni mat chera direct Rwanda. Rwanda mat peto yeba. Mat peto Rwanda. Dok mat Rwanda. No. Tie dang mogo matiga mente kenyu ma mat gangi bene peto. Dok mat gangi bene peke chulu bill. Angangi ma chulu bill me maji. Wanegi jo Uganda matiu udiko kidi chengi. Wanegi mo metu wabed mabene. Wamer lotian wabed mabene. Wan jo mo onyi muchoro. Wana ye mat perigangwa igaiwa. Dokino mukene ka Museveni kimerte mo bal mo kuma don chalu nek kingongo genyo kwanyu je machil meter ne kakani kakacha kineko machoko. Kino mukene ka karme bolu kuyu rom kineko machoko. Awachi switch me match nen chalu tiganga Muhozi kun wachi tweet cha mo ikena yomero. Cha mo ikena kone chulu pe mat kono pe chulu pe mat chene gidong nogu gamo dongu cha mo go in don kone bi berki mat kono pe bi berki mat dong pegone Dan mo kena wachika gene kanere kai joma chiki ke keti uwelo kono diang kono ngo keni chiki friji Uganda wai ko gwa kong gene peace me dek money mo dong were ne ne gene pe no ni jump chamen bokwo wanga wa dog 1900 mano rio mi ar ki ro ka wa ke gwa kwa buta bene kai wachi ko ni bet tam ni madi bogwa ko gene cham yacht petwar bedo dan wen tiki generator bene chenne neno gin mo kene ma megi Uganda Telecom wun wi upo Uganda Telecom wa manna ga yankar po borgi kar pa min Uganda Telecom gulo ga nying mohozi gene Janet gina ye red Uganda Telecom Entebbe International Airport man lobo weng tieki International Airport mano pagamente tie mewa Uganda Entebbe International Airport obelu pa Museveni gene chwa nya wore gene chwa gene won chi wore Sam Kutesa obelu won dago pa muhozi Entebbe Airport ma abikele woni an mukene pero mati Entebbe Airport pepore ki pero kamati kamukene lutina nyera machero ka yenyo tiji Entebbe Airport wanga konki buroko keri wanga kitimeta ta keri awinyi ka kiteri interview ilonyo boni o wanki wachitimeta ta weginen jami weng mai gi mero kakimini tiji airport Entebbe Airport pay nota no kingi wadi widano meneno ni in mone mir ticheni in mone bitwaro unyo ini dano ma warom ticho kiri cha mo ken wega ye ticheni I'm saying the Entebbe Airport has its own can of worms, which I'll bring another day. To get a job at Entebbe Airport, which is owned by Museveni and Sam Kutesa, you must, as a woman, undress and do all manner of tricks, including them using you, before you get a job at Entebbe Airport. Sam Kutesa leads that agency. Sam Kutesa is in charge of hiring and firing at Entebbe Airport. And for any woman to get a job at the airport, you lose the humanness. You lose the womanness that you are. You must. You are on order for use whenever. You must be available and ready to be used at any time. And I'm talking use sexually. Without an agreement. You don't have to say yes. But if you want a job, sometimes they have to stick with it. So Entebbe Airport, I will come back with that. It is, it's sickening. Let me finish this in a choli. Entebbe Airport, awachi, uberupa Museveni, gini chwa, daopa wode, Sam Kutesa. Orient Bank, uberupa Sam Kutesa. Unungeni Uganda tiki bank ario keken. Ilobo Uganda all long bank ario. Post Bank, ki bank money mukena chel, we adapt to will. Uganda ma lobo Uganda lobo weng bank tie ma no gam bank pagamente pian bank pagamente e miero ni bank mukena ni weng tika tinu tit ma pegitika kwalo dano pegitika kwalo jo Uganda eno enini bank gia ye doc setting ngo ma jo mukena miero tim pian no number gitila mala deda ko ma chalo ko wun wi uponi Greenland Bank yang karma Museveni gidoni li pap gu kwalo chana okiye mama na giki jo mo kana manotiki chana ibang ene chana do berpe. Greenland Bank was stolen by the Musevenis immediately they came into power. One of the first things they took, anybody who had funds in that bank lost it. My mother was included. Greenland Bank, to date, the owner of Greenland Bank went to court and this, that, and the other, thinking that, it is going to be fair and square, that the judicial system would understand. He sued so many times that he outsued the times he can sue anymore. In a purposeful way, the Musevenis made sure that he could no longer sue about the case. Because I think they changed maybe 3 or 4 judges. If a case is passed on a couple of times, it becomes invalid to be a case anymore. You cannot sue. So bang, makin woni Greenland ma jono kwalo ma bugu food good on donya ikeni. gu chero Museveni won bange ni chero ni eni bitemo ngo tero gi court ento Museveni ki ngenu siasa u chero chilago ginogo la ngol ko poko wan adek angwen wie chi tieni kala ngol ko bulo ka wan adek angwen manyuti ni case eni dong pero mu dugi court la piano ngo la ngol ko do lo ka dong maduong no dong pedong ti invalid dong pero mu bero case madobo winya da eventually yonge jalle ki mino yaro umetito la red Greenland Bank ikarma Museveni ki piano Gilmu kene ma pa Museveni Garden City uber pa Museveni kikome pira kene Garden City no uner mo nyem Kampala kenni meka Museveni Zain uber pa Salim Saleh Zain ununge kama Zain tiye uber pa Salim Saleh Warid Telecom ununge Warid Telecom Red Warid Telecom uberu Amelia Chambade uberu dago pa Museveni matieki latin nyako dago do bedong nyaka Amelia Chambade uberu MP karmoni pange ka puti MP unu neno kita don wori o kilu rem ke kanwe ba gere Warid Telecom uberu pa Amelia Chambade buberu dago pa Museveni matieki latin nyako eno ni kikeru bana ni uberu MP en make kwanya opposition otateke Latin nyako pa Museveni, nyaka Museveni kikome. Uberu MP, eno wero no ngo, lonyo mogo ki poko irani. Pien eno uberu ngo, pagang pa Museveni gi. MTN, uberu pa Museveni. Yes, Phoebe, they're saying that Warid and Zain are no longer, they may have sold or something. They may have sold. Kiwai Warid kuberichane don't pay Uganda. Manyuti no guloko igenu kenne. Petwero beti Warid dong kilorogo. Twero beti dong guloko ni nyeti nyongaro kan nyo welo chu chako genu kenne. Chiane pa Johnny Perwen. It is likely, Phoebe, that despite the fact that Warid itself may not be, Warid could have evolved into something else. Zain could now be something else. That the money just travels. It is not because it became anything Ugandan. No, it's not that. The point is that everything they do is against Ugandans. It's working against building Uganda, working against success of Ugandans. That is my point. So Warid is now Airtel, which means likely same person, different day, different clothes. It doesn't mean that it's no longer for Amelia Chambade. Okay? MTN, uberpa yoweri Museveni. Gin mukene ma no ni dong baluya deda. Ya factory ma yubu yat me ARV. ARV uber yat me Selim. Red factory en uber yoweri kaguta Museveni. Manyuti uber chalo wuninen ka red business ario enini uber dana chel. Berchal red business me funeral services ki red business me aria. Funeral service ka dong chena ne business uber tata. En ngara chele ni ma uber red ariati. Itamane botemo nga. Ubunene tao mede work business ni chuma be. Ena ye kita gini ni dong tikere ni Museveni ena ye red kama yubu ARV. Manyute kita Museveni mete Ugandans uta tu bone. Eni karmo ke ken romo wachi kongdo wek yupo yatogo. Amini wu kong dwe chel po yup yat mo ken. Unyo romo wachi yat ARV u yup manonok. Unyo ke keti tungangi kacha yar meta deda. La chobe na yat mete. Utamni anga mo buno yat u yoro loy ngatu kene. Joba Museveni buno yare ma put pi anga jo ma la cho no yat. Manyuti en ma Museveni ena ye red factory ma yubu yat ARV ni. Tere ni. Danu to kita Museveni iye miro kede. Pien Museveni ki koma bituju danu ki Selim. Lianton de kacha kama gidonyo kede kitung Rwanda ni. Gutu cheki lolonyo ki Selim adeda. Selim and Museveni nano ki gina ki warni ena ye uberu ka lwen ki Selim tutwali. Pien Museveni aye no meru namba misili moko ka no yo menongu en nama yo ni mechwalu ne wako wachi unen kong dong unen tuwo silim kena do medekere ka dong en jo wako ni chwalu yire chene where en do itim kigina iyo mero en to no de daine ni silim matuwo ni tika nyem tika meta pieno tiche woti mete Pien ka down matuo silim pe chi factory pa Museveni benong pe. I'm saying if there are no people getting infected or sick with HIV, then Museveni loses the factory business of producing HIV medication. You see that? Jail. Yes, somebody's saying they have a lot of malls in South Africa. Yes, they have several assets in different places. I understand Miss Zari is one of the proxies of the owners of certain assets in different places. But the reason why the wife of Thomas Tayeba was appointed ambassador to the Bahamas is because they want to protect their gains in the Bahamas. I understand in the Bahamas they have malls upon malls. Because when the big countries like the United States started probing into their wealth and this, that, and the other, they decided to divert into smaller countries like the Bahamas, and they're redirecting a lot of their wealth there. South Africa makes sense because Amama Mbabazi's daughter is married to Ramaphosa, which gives them a longer working relationship because Amama Mbabazi, they are the same group. Same group. Ginmukene ma miete gene. Kamukene ma megi uberu speak resort, munyonyo. Wunu winyi ni munyonyo beru pa sudir ko. Munyonyo beru pa Museveni. Yo weri kaguta Museveni. Ena ye red hotel mati munyonyo. Hold on. One moment, please. Hello? Yes. Good morning. Oh, I can email it to her. Have her text me an email. Hi. Hi, Karen. Could you text me your email and I'll email you a receipt, please? Yes. Text me your email. Yeah, I'll get it to you. Yes. Oh, you want me to text you? Yeah, I can do that. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Uh-huh. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry about that. I had to take the call. I'm still working. So, ati wachi speak resort munyonyo ma wan watamni pa sudir ni. Munyonyo oberu pa Museveni kikome. Sudir oberu chal makikerni ena yerwede. Paul Jami mati Uganda Museveni no keru nyinga to kerne. Ento no jame any Maggie. Gien magi why ni protecting the gains ni. Protecting the gains ni uberu gains gi. Pe wan pe mewa piangi mawa bepe. Diyan ki wachi compensation. Gien na ilu kwal diyan. Compensation mo uberu pere. No. Gains one board wa uberu loss. To them it's a gain. To us is continuation of our loss. Basically, it's not protection. Gien muke ana ma Maggie uberu WBS. Uneno. WBS network ma TV ni oberu pa Museveni yo eri kagota Museveni ena ye red WBS ena we WBS waju gimoe ke na Museveni metino okate wa penny waju logada nyano ikare ma National Unity Platform kati kingongo gini WBS oberu TV mo oberu ka lok maraja de dai kon Bobby Wine enta de dai neni down makiloni chagulani sentamu Bobby Wine ena yeu keli waku berichani ngenu kuri timpa joani kapeno pa wangayo. If it wasn't for Bobby Wine coming and saying, you know what I'm going to do is undress these people, I'm going to shine a light in the darkness, had it not been for him, we would still be peaceful, letting Museveni do whatever they want, and we wouldn't know these facts. So we are in time, in the right place at the right time to achieve change. This is a revolution. It is happening and unfolding every single day. Yes, Musa. Sorry, I said Sorry, I misspoke. I said Amama Mbabazi's daughter was married to Ramaphosa's, I think I said daughter, but I meant to say son. Absolutely son. Okay? So, among other things, I shared something yesterday about Thomas Tayebwa. Okay? It is granted that Anita Mong has committed severe crime in corruption. I mean, it is hard to support Anita Mong. That one I'll tell you. I'll give you that. But why is it that Thomas Tayebwa is not probed or questioned at all? Thomas Tayebwa is equally responsible because the generator that was bought by Anita was the same generator was bought by Tayebwa for his personal use at his own home. Over between 5 to 700 million Uganda shillings. Personal generator. Instead of them advocating for electricity to be reliable as a parliament, they decided to secure a separate source of power for themselves using taxpayers' money. The containers of money that came out of Anita's house are unimaginable. Granted, she is inappropriate and she behaved inappropriately in office. But Thomas Tayebwa, this goes to show us that this divide or this war on corruption is not about corruption. It is about clipping the strengths of Ugandan, clipping Anita Mong so she cannot keep soaring, clipping the powers of Anita Mong, because I understand Anita Mong funded every possible election in Uganda this recent time. And had Anita Mong come independent, she would likely, possibly win the speakership race if it was free and fair. But because he became a threat to, like I said, Museveni is threatened by anybody or anything in Uganda at this time. Museveni fears his shadow. Museveni cannot think of anybody. That's why he wants to get people like King Saha killed. Poor guy, he's all about his music. He loves his people. He speaks about the struggles that people have. But Museveni is on his case to kill him. Atia wachi en makuberi chani kipora nita mongi. Pingo Thomas Tayebwa muberi deputy neni. Peki tika gudu kome. Pien Thomas Tayebwa ikarmani tamong wilu generator konome million mia beach mia berne. Thomas Tayebwa bweki wilu gene. Ota Thomas Tayebwa mau nyema gangi kachani. Roma ki ot mani tamong ogero kadi gangi kachani. Aya. Thomas Tayebwa ogero ot lega icharo gi makiluoni kamirama koro kairama. Ot lega cha ogero billion a dek. Thomas Tayebwa personally built a church in his village for about 3 billion Uganda shillings. Why isn't Thomas Tayebwa in any of these probes? Any of this corruption probe? Why isn't Thomas Tayebwa? And why is his wife awarded with ambassadorial position in the Bahamas? Why? I understand they're protecting the gains, but it still doesn't negate, it doesn't mean these people are actually fighting corruption. These people are being chased by something. And it is the reports and accountability that the world wants to know. That Museveni now sends the bulldozer of a son to go and bark. It is not because it's well intended. Luende corruption in Ipegina da. Museveni tie kamading pian lobo weng tika penyu accountability. Ngoma unu tia temune Uganda. Pingo dan kwa man. Pingo koko tie mapol. Video en mawan watika chwalu neni. Chalo mega eni kuberi chan tika donya bod jome UN kamirnem ne kuman. Anla ni mchaki wachi arwe nyigi chene chok billion a di kulu trillion. Pien kama no kibichwale gi chene ni guna no video na ho. Chuko wai ko tiet kong dago ne tia wachi ngo. Teto na ungayo gi ho. Chene kituki ngolo ne John wai po bi mini wuchane. The last few weeks Museveni was very upset because my video was watched by a funder who was about to release funds to them. And eventually they said, no, we're not releasing. What is she saying? Explain to us what that woman is talking about before we give you this funding. They're very upset about it. And they don't like people like us because we spill the beans. We speak the truth. When I speak, I have backing. I have evidence. I have videos. Several videos have gone to the ICC, several European Parliament, several State Department in the United States. Ebola funding did not go to Museveni this time because, as they expected, they thought that if they say Ebola is in Congo and some of it is in Uganda, somehow that Uganda would automatically have a cut on the funding that goes to Congo. Remember, Congo is a special interest to the US right now. So the US sent funding for Congo specifically because they genuinely have a problem. Ebola in Uganda is not there. It's not there. And they severely miscalculated because they thought with Ebola being pronounced, they are going to run Uganda on Ebola and lockdown. But they did not expect that Ebola would affect tourism and people going back and forth. There is visa bans for Uganda. There is traveling ban in Uganda right now. There's, tourists are being warned that Uganda is not a safe place because when Museveni was getting his lobbyists to have Uganda added to the Ebola list, they didn't think that it would affect them negatively, such as not getting funds, because they were looking forward to that money. It didn't come. Because now they have a tourism ban. They have a warning going out from every what do they call it? The ambassador's location. Every embassy is warning their people from their homes, saying, don't come. Uganda has Ebola, is unsafe, even though we have nobody dead. Museveni pushes the health team, the Minister of Health, to go and say certain things. To say there is Ebola. Nobody has passed with Ebola in Uganda. There's no Ebola in Uganda. But Museveni likes to just keep us down, keep Uganda in a manageable situation. Because if Ugandans wake up and realize certain things, it is easy for Ugandans to overthrow Museveni's government. And that's what he fears the most. Atia wachi Ebola pere Uganda. Ento Museveni no tika mirchana kibojo muni wakacha. Gina Museveni timu oru acheng Minister of Health. Ni ucherochi ol wachi tuo mwani dong tie kanye ye. Chino wiepo tamone en kai loko kuri loko ni piane Ebola tie gere Congo. Gino wako Congo tiki Ebola. Jo Congolese chamu gimoni ma ti dilum kacha. Git ento gine ene tie kituo Ebola ye. Manyuti kadongu chamu marache Ebola dong chako donye kindano. So Ebola is in Congo because of a bat that's eaten by Congolese people. And when they get to the wrong bat that is infected, Ebola then begins to spread. It is about something they eat that has the disease. It's a bat. So in Uganda, it will take a while. Even if it's at the border there, it is easy to control traffic so that it doesn't get into Uganda. But because Museveni wants money with this problem, he will try to, wiggle it into Uganda so that the Western world will hurry up and give him money. And this time they didn't. All they did was ban people from coming to Uganda and ban Ugandans from traveling to certain countries because of Ebola. Manjo mo kena chie me paromo what? Me karo, me don Uganda, me tourism. Man nyuti no tourism do ta ako. Chiene bene Museveni po no. Pian gamenta ma wako chwalu gera chiene Congo. Pian Congo no ngo. Ta tika time ma tika nen. Uganda ge mope. En Ebola ini no Museveni meti ti kere mengo. Me ne kujomo men meti ne gini. Pian ka de chera riari wachi kono iya mote. Kituke di ni odong ningo. Ini tiki Ebola. Pe tie karu wako dong wanga de pe. Ina. Man kubere chani tourism dong. Dan tika ngolu tourism oko. Kilo ma wako kan. Museveni dong tika yep to CNN. Ni CNN. O loko Ebola da o gena. O weko dong namba pe Ebola dong dito ko Uganda. Man weko tourism dong pe. Tourism beru pe kakare. Pien Museveni damni down weng ming. He thinks everybody is stupid. So he did not get the money from Ebola. Neither is he going to get tourism people coming into Uganda who can pay some good money for him. Acheng, shame on you, Minister of Health. Museveni has used you severely to cause Ugandans fear and to cause misdiagnosis and death among Ugandans. Acheng, you are warned because eventually what is happening to Anita Among will come to you, because you have a lot of evidence, a lot of treachery that has gone through you from the Museveni government. It's a matter of time for all of you. All of you, it's a matter of time. All of you, it's a matter of time. What is happening to Anita Among? Like I showed you that photo of Muhoozi and Anita Among this way. It is rightfully indicative of where Uganda is and where the powers that be is, the Musevenis. It is how disgusted they are that he didn't even want to look at Anita Among. That's exactly what it means. My video power is dying down. Okay. I may have to switch phones, or I'll come back with a security alert in a few minutes here. Battery natika toy chimenini abikeru chimukane. But I'll finish this video and then I'll come back in a new one. So look for me in the next 2 minutes. Okay? I love you. Amaru Adida. Adugo Chan.